After dinner, Charlie declined Warnya's request to send him home, and said goodbye to her and Mr. Song in front of Classic Mansion, and walked to a construction bank near Classic Mansion. When he came to China Construction Bank, he transferred 998 million from the card that Mr. Song gave him. After the money was transferred to his card, he had only 2 million left. With that card, he returned home. At home, Jacob and Elaine had just eaten the takeaway. Seeing him back, Elaine hurriedly stepped forward and asked, "Charlie, how did it go? Have you made any money?" Charlie nodded and said lightly, "I made a little bit." "What's the point?" Elaine blurted out, "Get all the money out." Charlie directly took out his bank card and said, "There are 2 million in this card." 2 million? Elaine's eyes straightened. Excited, she took the card into her hand and blurted out, "You are not lying to me, right? There are really 2 million in this card?" "Right." Charlie said lightly, "I have checked on the ATM, and it is indeed 2 million. "Great!" Elaine cheered excitedly. 2 million. Wouldn't it be that he made up for the large sum of money she lost? The thought of being able to go to a beauty salon with a friend, make an appointment with a mahjong friend, and even live in Thompson, Elaine was very excited. She took the bank card in her hand and looked at it carefully for a moment. Only then did she recover and asked, "Does this card have a password?" Charlie nodded and said, "There is a password. The password is..." He was about to say what the password was, but Charlie suddenly came back to his senses. "It's not right. Didn't Elaine say yesterday that Jacob will be in charge of the money in the future? Why does she still have the face to ask him for a password?" Thinking of this, Charlie hurriedly turned his face and said to Jacob, who was on the side, "Dad, didn't you say yesterday that you will keep all the money at home in the future?" Jacob came back to his senses only then, suddenly, "Right. I am in charge of the money. I should control the 2 million. So he hurriedly got up, walked up to Elaine in 2 steps, and said, "Give me the card." Elaine subconsciously hid the card behind her, looked at Jacob cautiously, and asked, "What are you doing?" Jacob said coldly, "You just said yesterday that I will be in charge of the money, so I must have the card?" Elaine stammered and said, "I don't have one. I just want to confirm whether this card is what Charlie said. There are 2 million. After that, she said again, "Honey, to be honest, you are a big man. It is difficult to manage the money in an orderly manner. Or you can see, let me take care of the money in this family, how about it?" Jacob suddenly became angry and cursed, "Elaine, what you just said last night, you haven't even passed 24 hours, so you don't recognize your own words anymore?" Elaine explained, "Oh, I really didn't mean that." "Then what do you mean?" Jacob said coldly, "I tell you, you don't want to control money in the future. If you insist on managing money, then we too will go through the divorce procedures immediately." Elaine was a little confused at once. Although she wanted these 2 million very much, but Charlie didn't tell her password, it didn't make much sense to hold the card by herself, and she couldn't get the money. So she could only pass the card to Jacob angrily, then turned her head and gave Charlie a vicious look. Charlie just pretended not to see her eyes, and quickly turned his face again, and said to Jacob, "Dad, this money will be used to buy furniture and home appliances. Buy it as soon as possible. After buying it, we can move in as soon as possible." "Okay, okay." Jacob nodded, carefully put the card into his pocket, and asked Charlie, "Good son-in-law, what is the bank card password?" Charlie said, "I will post it on WeChat later for you." "It is good." Jacob hurriedly said, "Then, I will go to the bank first. You will send me the password. I will transfer the money to my card. This money must be earmarked." Charlie nodded, and said, "Then you go first, I'll send it to you later." Elaine was furious. What does Charlie mean? In front of her own face, he doesn't even want to say the password. Is this defending himself? What a jerk. Charlie was indeed guarding her. Elaine didn't have any ethics, and she might have secretly taken the money away, so it's better to be careful. Jacob got dressed and went out. He received the password from Charlie when he was almost at the bank. After inserting the card in the ATM, he checked the card, and there were indeed 2 million in the card. Seeing the actual balance figure on the ATM, Jacob was very surprised. Charlie is really amazing. If he goes out to show others the feng shui, he will get 2 million? If this is a little more of this kind of business, wouldn't he want to make a fortune? Astonished, Jacob entered his bank account and transferred all the money in this card to his card. Afterwards, he took out his mobile phone to check the mobile banking and found that the money had arrived, which was a relief. When he was walking back, he suddenly received a WeChat message from Charlie. The content of the WeChat message was, "Dad, remember to change the phone unlocking password, mobile banking password, and payment password. Otherwise it will easily go wrong." This made Jacob admire him even more. Fortunately, son-in-law reminded him quickly, otherwise he would go back like this. As long as Elaine took a few minutes to get his mobile phone, she must have taken all the money away. So he did not dare to delay, and hurriedly changed all the passwords, and replaced them with a new password that Elaine could not guess. When Jacob returned home, Elaine hurried up and asked, "How are husband, is there really 2 million in bank?" "Of course." Jacob said arrogantly, "When did my son-in-law lie to me?" Elaine asked hurriedly, "Those 2 million have been transferred to your card?" "Yeah." Jacob nodded, not wanting to talk to her, and asked, "Where is Charlie?" "He went out to buy groceries."